Good morning, morning, good morning, morning.
Good morning, viewers, and welcome to the Tobago Updates morning show, coming to you here live from the Port Mall in Scarborough, Tobago. As we continue to give God thanks for life, I am Julian Skeet.
And I am Adana Kambi. This is the day that the Lord has made, and we will rejoice and be glad in it and be thankful to be in the land of the living. Today is Thursday, November 9th, 2023, and it is a beautiful Thursday morning. Julian, what is happening in your neck of the woods?
Yeah, it's been a beautiful Tuesday morning, indeed. Nothing much, quite a easygoing, calm kind of week. Involved in some areas with training and preparation and so on. It's that kind of time in terms of planning as we enter the new fiscal, the new financial year, and then certainly we had the commitment from the Chief Secretary, which we're looking forward to updates on coming for the latter part of this month. So I know at this time I would anticipate naturally divisions are quite consumed in their preparation mode from that perspective at least.
That's right.
And what's been happening with you?
Well, I'm part of this team that is preparing for International Men's Day regional conference happening there in Grenada. So my time is consumed with preparations for that. That is where I'm standing. It's taking most of my time and my efforts and my resources. So that is where my mind is right now. And of course, today is the school fair at Signal Hill Government Primary School. And I have, my son attends that school, and I know you have interest there as well. So I have that happening today as well.
And I want to say, congratulations as usual going out to the various schools in Tobago, having a number of activities that seek to enhance and to build that skill set, of our children and our young people, so that they understand the versatility and the importance with that balance in life. So there's the extracurricular activities, there are the academics and so on. And certainly, as Adana just indicated, by way of interactions with Signal Hill, we know for sure that there definitely is that kind of focus coming out there. Kudos and congratulations to Principal Devines and Adana. See, they have big thing. Sir Peter King.
I know, right? What is this?
That there's apparently a segment in the disco now for
parents. Like we get through. We rarely get through.
So certainly up there. But I'm sure my daughter will tell me without fear or favor, Daddy, nope, I don't want to see you anywhere near there before pickup time.
That's right.
All right, but certainly commendations in terms of the various schools. This is the season that they're heading into, the Christmas season, and I trust, as per usual, our teachers, our principals, and so will continue to keep our students engaged and to keep them safe within this time. Viewers, we head on over to news in 90 seconds.
Thank you, Julian and Adana. I am Tanika Cruikshank, and here is your news in 90 seconds for Thursday, 9th of November 2023, sponsored by B-Mobile. A breakdown in policy at here is being blamed for by Signal Hill Secondary School students missing out on the finals of the Sandfest competition. Following a viral post from a frustrated parent, the Division of Education, Research and Technology investigated the matter. They defended the decision of the school supervisor and management unit, which repeatedly attempted to work with the school to obtain necessary documents for authorization and funding for the trip. Meanwhile, Education Secretary Zarisha Hackett expressed disappointment about the situation, but underscored the need for students to be protected within a structure that ensures accountability and transparency. Senior government officials from Barbados and Trinidad and Tobago convened virtually to address concerns about the Eastern Caribbean flying fish stock. The Caribbean Regional Fisheries Mechanism also participated. The meeting included delegates from both countries focusing on sustainable fisheries management. They discussed issues including collaborative research and sub-regional fish stock assessment, particularly for flying fish. Both nations expressed their intent to negotiate a new flying fish agreement in the future. The discussions were productive, and the government reaffirmed their commitment to open communication and consultation with stakeholders to ensure sustainable use of this shared resource. Finance Minister come in but discussed concerns over the temporary suspension of the TT dollars in exchange for Bank of Jamaica. The Bank of Jamaica cited a review of arrangement as the reason for the suspension. Imbut noted that the trade amount of TT dollars in Jamaica was minimal, around $4,000 per month. He criticized media reports for exaggerating the situation, causing unnecessary anxiety. Meanwhile, 7 business organizations called for clarity on the matter in a separate statement. And that was your news in 90 seconds, sponsored by B-Mobile.
Thank you very much, Tanika, and welcome back, viewers. We're heading straight on into our birthday shout-outs, our birthday segment.
And on screen celebrating a birthday today is Jenny Richardson Bruce. Happy birthday to you, Jenny, from all of us here at Tobago Updates Television. We do hope that you have a good birthday today.
Sending a birthday shout out to Nigel Duke. And if you know him any at all, for those who know him within the credit union sector, Mr. Lambo Credit Union, the president of Lambo Credit Union, sending a birthday shout out to you, Nigel Duke. Continued blessings.
And this, of course, is Desron Clark. Desron Clark, you are celebrating a birthday today, and we want to wish you a very happy birthday. You know, that's a guy there always holding his camera, always taking some beautiful shots, capturing beautiful shots in and around Tobago. So we want to wish you a very happy birthday today, Desron.
And the lovely lady on screen, Sparkle Alexander John, my classmate there out of Scarborough Secondary, wishing her a happy birthday. Some know her as Officer. We certainly want to wish you continued blessings coming from my family and the entire Tobago Updates family. We trust that you enjoy the celebrations. Happy birthday, Sparkle. Thank you very much there. I saw birthday shout-outs coming in this morning. Adana, who do we have on the rundown?
Right, we're having interesting conversations this morning. We're speaking with Mariano Brown, and he's a former Minister of Finance. And we're talking, of course, about the topic of discussion is the Jamaica suspends the TT dollar. So we're going to have that conversation with him this morning. We're also speaking to Cindy Ann Currency. She's the operations manager at Digicel Foundation, and we're talking about Digicel Christmas community activities. And then we round up conversations with Dave Elliott. He is pro-Royal Commonwealth Ex-Services League Tobago branch, and Petra Beckel. She's the secretary of Royal Commonwealth Ex-Services League Tobago branch, and we're talking about Memorial Day 2023. So that's what our conversations look like on the program for today.
Excellent. All right. So viewers, at this point, we're preparing to head on out to a break before we head into our first segment this morning. But we want to remind you, just before we head out there, in fact, let me make sure that we shout out our viewers. I don't want to get pulled up by the time I enter into the weekend. I see we have on with us this morning, Travis Valana, Alicia. Hey, Alicia Devines, good morning to you. I see also Sharon Mills in the mix, Jared Primer, Brenda Campbell. Good morning to each and every one of you. Lisa James, Miss Charles out there in Susulans, good morning. Crystal Washington Torm, good morning to you. And I want to say thank you very much to each and every one of you for continuing to lend that love and that support to the Tobago Updates morning show. And we remind you that this is your opportunity to share the live, share the live, share the live.
Welcome to Standard, and today we're launching High. It's our newest brand that Standard is launching, and it's where luxury meets affordability. We're very proud of this brand. It's taken some time to get the right collection in place, and we're also going to continue to improve on our collection as time goes by and we listen to our customers more. We've changed our suppliers for this collection to European suppliers, so you're going to get that European finish. We've been very pleased by some of the results that we've been seeing in response to it in the market, and we're so glad to bring it to Tobago and show Tobago what Standard could, grow with them as well.
It's not just about looking good or having materials that are easily cleaned or sustainable materials, because the important thing about this particular collection is that it is quality. It is meant to last, and it lives up to the Standard name about never beating on quality and price. This furniture particularly, especially our outdoor line, which ranges from fiberglass, plastic types of outdoor stools, outdoor chairs, even the outdoor furniture. It is built to last.
That's the importance with high, right? It's not only looking good, it's going to feature things that make your life easier, and it's not too damaging on your pocket. That's important for us.
This furniture fits the lifestyle of Tobago, of the Tobago customer, of the Tobago guest. It is the perfect type of furniture for you.
Put a smile on your face when you're moving from place to place. Good morning, good morning, morning.
Good morning, viewers. It's 7:07 a.m. and welcome back to the Tobago Updates morning show, coming to you here live from the Port Mall in Scarborough, Tobago. I'm Julian Skeet, and in this segment, we are heading into discussions with Mariano Brong, a former Minister of Finance, and we are speaking about the suspension of the TT dollar by the Bank of Jamaica. Good morning.
Good morning.
Yes, good morning to you and welcome indeed. We're diving straight on into the conversation. Quite recently, we heard of the announcement being made. Some started to get uneasy. Some experts said there's no need to worry. What is your perspective in relation to the matter at hand?
Well, I think the real issue is how come there were so many dollars, Trinidad and Tobago dollars in Jamaica in the first place. That's point one. And secondly, I think we should really be getting an explanation from the central bank, not from the Minister of Finance, with all due respect to the Minister of Finance. And I think the third point is regard to volume. It was the volume of currency that we're talking about. The Minister says it's minor, but yet the Central Bank of Jamaica felt compelled to make an announcement. They don't normally make an announcement for minor routine adjustments. So I really would like to understand the volumes concerned.
What do you understand is the reason or the rationale for this kind of decision being taken?
Well, I mean, cash is difficult to manage. You have to put custody arrangements in position. You have to count it on a regular basis to make certain it's there. And on the custodial arrangements and moving cash around is expensive because you have to put security and all those other kinds of arrangements in place to make it happen. Now, it's standard practice to remit. Sorry, not to remit. Let's put it this way. We often complain of a lack of a lack of US dollars in the market, particularly in cash. And one of the reasons why there isn't so much cash in the market because we've been moving away from cash. And the second part about it, as far as the banks are concerned, it's hard to manage. So imagine, for example, and that's a currency which is in great demand. Now, currencies are traded the same way until you buy and sell stuff. That's why we have exchange rates, published exchange rates. So if you're having what you would call an exotic currency is one in which there is not a heck of a lot of demand, but you would have to keep it in stock. Right? So you would only do that to the extent to which there's demand. Now, the settlement mechanisms in the Caribbean is really US dollars and is really to facilitate trade. So therefore, it's surprising to hear that there would be some TT dollars, that would be remitted or be held by the Central Bank of Jamaica, which have to be sent to Trinidad from time to time. And from that perspective, it would be a costly exercise. I mean, it's the cost of moving shipments around. By the way, it requires, when you're shipping currency, it requires import licenses and so on and so forth. So it means that you have to put some administrative arrangements around it. And that's cumbersome. So you only do it for large volumes and for currencies which are in great demand. So on that basis, Trinidad and Tobago is not likely to be in great demand because it's not acceptable as legal tender anywhere else in the Caribbean except Trinidad. And it's not a currency that people make a market in. They don't buy and sell all that way. So how come there was this demand? Now, notice the two countries which suspended movement in the currency or repatriation of currency to Trinidad and Tobago, Guyana and Jamaica. will probably be two of our biggest trading partners. So what has happened or seems to have happened is that some people are settling, how shall we call it, outstanding bills in TT dollars, actual cash, which is unusual, given the fact that most of the trade is settled in US dollars. So the only explanation for that would be that they couldn't find US dollars, but people were prepared to accept TT dollars in exchange, right, which would then have to be repatriated by the central banks of both countries. Now, since, according to the Jamaicans, and we have no reason, the central bank has kept quiet in all of this, hasn't said a word, it means that there must be some truth in it. And they went on to explain that the suspension of transshipment had to do with the fact that the Trinidad Central Bank said, don't send any more. Right? So the only thing that one could explain about, because it's not about Trinidad shipping Jamaica dollars to Jamaica. It's about Jamaica and Guyana shipping TT dollars back to Trinidad. So the likely suspicion is that people have been using Trinidad and Tobago dollars to settle outstanding bills because they weren't getting foreign exchange in Trinidad, and people were prepared to accept the TT dollars because they knew that either the two central banks would be prepared to exchange it. And that's the only explanation you could really give to try to make sense out of all of this. At the heart of all of this would appear to be the difficulty in getting foreign exchange.
Right. Minister, you gave a very good explanation, especially for somebody who doesn't understand the conversation or the financial rollout of how things happen across regions and in terms of exchange and how money speaks to each other in different countries. So we have a clear idea as to how that happens. And of course, the repatriation of the money back to the home country would obviously mean, as you mentioned, some administrative fees, which means you have to spend money to get the money back, right? Correct.
Yes.
But what does that mean in our space, in our Trinidad and Tobago space? What does that mean for our dollar and where we stand? Where are we positioned? Where is our dollar positioned right now?
Well, it's positioned at this legal tender in Trinidad and Tobago, and its acceptability across the region to settle outstanding debts is not acceptable. So, the bottom line is that you can't export Trinidad and Tobago dollars to pay your bills. Now, consider, for example, how US dollars are exported. US dollars, for example, to get Trinidad and Tobago, to get US dollar currency into Trinidad and Tobago, you have to put it on a plane. Somebody has to go with it. They have to secure it, right? When they come off the plane, you have to do the same process. And you have to, essentially, when it gets to the bank, you count it all over again. That's one of the reasons why banks don't trade in currencies unless they're in high demand. So reverse that. It means that the Trinidad and Tobago dollar is not in high demand anywhere in the Caribbean. And now that the central bank has said, we're not basically going to convert. But when the Jamaica Central Bank sends it to Trinidad, it's not as though it's a gift, right? You have to, what has to happen is that the Trinidad and Tobago Central Bank has to buy it back. It has to pay the Jamaica Central Bank or the Guyana Central Bank in hard currency. So that's a call on your reserves. And from that perspective, that's a way of getting around any shortage in the market. So the suspension by the Central Bank of Trinidad and Tobago of any sort of repatriation or collection means what they have said is, don't bother send us any US dollars, any TT dollars, we're not paying you in US dollars for it. That's what it says.
So what I want to get, is give us a sense. It's understood, and it is my information that central banks around the region have that kind of common understanding where, we work together based on the variation in terms of our currencies. In this circumstance, is this suspension something unique, or from your experience, this has happened in the past, whether it be for short periods, etc., and then we resume what is the normal trading of currency?
Well, you'll have to go back to the settlement mechanism, which was designed in the 90s, where the Trinidad and Tobago currency was actually used as a form of settlement. You may or may not remember, there was actually a thing called the CARICOM Traveler's Check, right, which was issued by NCB Trinidad and Tobago, National Commercial Bank of Trinidad and Tobago, as a way of people basically traveling abroad and using Trinidad and Tobago currency, effectively, travelers' checks in Trinidad and Tobago dollars, as a settlement mechanism. And there was also a Caribbean settlement exchange, which was handled by Barbados. The problem with both issues was convertibility, because at the end of the day, when you have to buy the exchange, the travelers' checks back with US dollars. So when Trinidad and Tobago ran into a problem in terms of a foreign currency situation in the 80s, right, and that's when it was done. It was done actually in the 80s. The convertibility was suspended and stopped selling Trinidad and Tobago travelers' checks. So the bottom line is Trinidad and Tobago's dollar is not even a CARICOM currency for trading purposes. So the bottom line is that the recognized and de facto currency for all trade and settlements of bills in the region is US dollars.
Therefore,
If
the obvious question that comes there is, what are your thoughts as it relates to the discussion that has been happening for some time now, whether or not a common currency, within our region? We've got the EC, a number of the Eastern Caribbean islands utilizing. We got the TT dollar, we got the Jamaican dollar, and the list goes on. What are your thoughts regarding a common currency within the region?
Well, there is a common currency in the region. It's US dollars.
Outside of the US dollar, that is. Do you think that that's something that we can achieve in any real, because that has been a conversation for a while, or is it that you think it will derive no real benefit when compared to the US dollar?
Well, the answer to that at this stage of the game is no. What facilitates trade are the settlement mechanisms in the first instance, and the currencies which are used to settle. So if we accept and we have faith and confidence in a particular currency, because by the way, if you trade in US dollars, what do you get? Can you exchange it for anything else? Well, you can exchange currencies because it's acceptable. People will use it as a medium of exchange. Now that's the difficulty with the Trinidad and Tobago dollar, or the Jamaica dollar, or the Guyana dollar, or the Barbados dollar. They're not acceptable as international currencies. So that, or even within the Caribbean, they're not acceptable. Last time we attempted to do something along those lines, that was suspended. And we've not been able to go back to it again. That was in the 1980s. And the bottom line always ends up with, do the countries have enough foreign exchange, and in this particular case, US dollars?
Right, Minister. I mean, for somebody, as I said earlier, for the layman who doesn't understand these things, I mean, I'm sitting and I'm absorbing the information because I'm thinking about the man on the street. I'm thinking about even myself. Some of these terms are not, I wouldn't say new to me, but the explanation now brings clarity to me in terms of how money moves around the region and around the world. It's a rigorous sort of movement, isn't it? It's a rigorous sort of administration to get monies back and forth to where they originated from. So it's kind of interesting to see how this goes. We're talking also about, we're talking about the value of the Trinidad and Tobago dollar. We're not talking about international right now, but across the region, we've seen that it is not acceptable. It doesn't have as high value as other currencies. Is that fair to say? That it doesn't have the kind of value that would make a demand for it to stay in other countries?
Well, the answer to that is it has zero demand, and that's a real issue, and that's what and now that the central bank has put its first bound. Let me give you an example of what I mean. Up until 1971, the U.S. government was prepared to accept US dollars, which had been used everywhere in the world. So there's a huge amount of dollars in circulation. And they gave the undertaking that the US dollars would be converted into gold if anyone wished to repatriate US dollars. Now, because of the amount of money that was in circulation post-Second World War under the Marshall Aid Plan, we had to develop on what became known as the euro-dollar market, which effectively is a market in US currency. In 1971, the then president of France, President Charles de Gaulle, filled a plane, a 707 jet, and sent it to America and demanded payment in gold. The US government paid them in gold and then suspended dollar convertibility, which means that anytime you send US dollars back to the United States, the only thing you can get for it is US dollars, which is one of the reasons why there's such a high investment demand in the United States, because effectively, the United States have been paying for its imports, and it is imported substantially from countries all over the world, but people have been prepared to accept US dollars, right? And the only thing you could do with US dollars on that basis is send it back to the country, except that they're not going to give you in gold. So that's the difficulty with the international system that we're playing with at the moment. 80% of the world's currency reserves are in US dollars, which gives America huge leverage in terms of being able to manipulate markets, and also it also gives us significant political influence in the rest of the world. Now, if you compare that to the case of Trinidad and Tobago, nobody really in the Caribbean wants to accept Trinidad and Tobago dollars in exchange. If there was a high trade demand from that perspective, but what Trinidad and Tobago needs is US dollars. So we're not prepared to accept TT dollars from anybody in payment, and that's what the central bank said, zero. The last time we did a regional currency exchange system would have been in the 1980s. The Central Bank of Barbados would have been responsible for it. I can't remember the float. I think the float was about $5 billion. Right? Well, countries that were in deficit, in other words, countries that were importing more than they were exporting in the Trinidad, in the Caribbean, were settling, or rather, we built up a huge mountain of debt in terms of settlement. And the country in that case that literally blew the facility was Guyana. And Guyana was unable to settle its debts. And that we've never returned to that intra-regional trade settlement using domestic currency again. The trade is US dollars. So the bottom line is this. And what the central bank has confirmed is that the Trinidad and Tobago dollar has no value elsewhere in the region.
Very quickly, Mr. Brown, your closing comments, a final minute. This is all connected ultimately to our challenge in terms of the forex market, the market as it relates to the US dollar. My question is, from your experience as a former minister engaging with the central bank and so on, are there any hopes? When is this, or if this is going to improve any at all, or what needs to be done in the short and perhaps long term? I know it's a bit much asking you to do in 1 minute, but carry on.
Forget about my experience as a minister. I spent 23 years in the banking sector, and I've been CEO of 2 banks. I've been at the planning level of serious banks. The bottom line is that the settlement of all trade in the region and all inter-regional debts is going to be done in US dollars, and there's no future for an alternative currency for the foreseeable future.
All right. Thank you very much, there, former Minister Mariano Brown, joining us here on set this morning and speaking to the issue regarding the suspension of the TT dollar. Viewers, we want to thank you so much for continuing to choose the Tobago Updates morning show, and to remind you that this is your opportunity to share the live, share the live, share the live.
The Division of Settlements, Public Utilities and Rural Development has relocated its Crown Point office to Glen Road in Scarborough to better serve you, our clients. Our main office is located at the corner of Glen Road and Glen Road Branch number 1, the building formerly occupied by Costa. Our grant and electrical inspectorate services can be accessed at number 2 Montessori Drive in Glen Road, building 1 and 2.
Put a smile on your face when you're moving from place to place. Good morning, Good morning,
Good morning, viewers. It's just about 7:26 a.m. and welcome back to the Tobago Updates Morning Show. I'm Julian Skeet, and in this next segment, we'll be chatting with Cindy-Ann Currency, Operations Manager, Digicel Foundation, and we're speaking Digicel Christmas community activities. Always happy to be chatting with Cindy-Ann, especially when she's in studio, but she's joining us online today. Good morning to you.
Hi, good morning, team. Good morning. Hi, how are you doing?
Fine, thank you. And how are you?
I'm here today. I'm here with you, and I'm excited to tell you about what we have in store in the next couple of weeks.
Excellent. So we're going to dive straight on in the Digicel Foundation community activities. Is this a new initiative? Just give us some insight into the happenings.
Okay, so for the past 11 years, Julian, we've always tried to do some Christmas initiatives, something pretty different, try to make it as engaging and encourage our stakeholders to interact with their community as best as they can. Last year, for the first time, we did an initiative where we encourage our media partners and our social media influencers to apply for a grant. And that really was outstanding. It was a great experience on both sides. And so this year, we have Making Christmas Wishes Come True. And we are encouraging media and social media influencers with about 12,000 followers to register to be one of 5 people to win a $25,000 grant from Digicel Foundation.
Excellent. Tell us a little bit more about that, the qualification to be able to register. Is it just the minimum in terms of followers? Tell us a little bit more there.
Right. So first of all, you have to be a national of Trinidad and Tobago. We are looking out for media and social media influencers that have that 12K followers on Instagram. We actually dropped the bar a bit where that is concerned because we had some compelling statements yesterday and just people reaching out to find out ways and they wanted to enter. So it was 20K, but now we've come down to 12,000 followers. And we want you to have a passion project. Have a passion project when you enter. Right? Because that's going to be that thing that you will donate this $25,000 or invest this $25,000 into. We opened the registration yesterday, right? So it runs from the 8th of November to the 22nd of November, and you have an opportunity to register to participate in the treasure hunt, right? The treasure hunt is just the Digicel Foundation way to make things a bit exciting, to make it interesting, to make it dynamic and Christmassy as well, so that we can get you a step closer to getting that, to be shortlisted to be one of 5 for the $25,000.
Cindy, and I want to ask about the project, right, that they're supposed to have, as well as the 12,000 followers. Is it that they have to present a proposal for the project that they are hoping to embark on? Because, of course, you'd want to have the details and to ensure that the project aligns with your objectives, your goals, your, stuff like that. How are they presenting the proposal to ensure that it is what you're looking for this competition?
That's a great question, Ria. So what we want is you're preparing a 30-second video. And really, it's like your pitch presentation, right? You are doing a pitch. You are doing a pitch presentation for us, but really it's a 30-second video that you will be posting on your page to tell people what your project is and why your wish should come true this Christmas. And so we are looking at, we said passion project, which can also encompass a social enterprise, an initiative that does generate an income, but also impacts some aspect of your community. We are looking at, maybe a charitable donation. Do you have somebody who maybe have sickle cell disease and you want to donate? You want to start a blood drive? You want to do certain things? We're looking forward to those kinds of projects as well. If you do have a community project like our EPIC initiatives, where you want to donate some devices to some students or maybe tidy up a play park or something, we'd also look at that as well.
Tell us a little bit about the concept or the choice rather this time around. I know one of the big things is usually the reach consistently to NGOs and so on. I see that we have a slight variation in the target this time around, looking at media and social media influencers. What's the thinking behind that, or the objective coming out of the Digicel Foundation? I know it's something always new, something always current. So tell us.
So because we spend our year during our financial year, which runs from April to March, working with our NGO partners, engaging our public sector stakeholders and even other private agencies, we tend to use the Christmas holiday and sometimes the July, August vacation to see how we can reach out to some of our other stakeholders. And these are the kinds of opportunities that we would provide. So it's not new in terms of reaching out to like influencers or media journalists, etc. But it is something that we kind of keep towards our Christmas time, to give people an opportunity. As I said, last year we did something similar to this. And what made it really cool was that the feedback from that last year, giving persons that opportunity to give them this money, this funding that they can put into a project that they are passionate about, that feedback really stayed with us. And so we wanted to try it this year. We'll be putting in a treasure hunt to make it a little bit more exciting.
Tell us the thinking behind that treasure hunt. That's scheduled for December the 2nd, it is?
Sorry, I have an 8-month-old here with me today, keeping me busy.
That's understood.
The treasure hunt is December 2nd. And so we're inviting the influencers from Tobago who entered to come over to Trinidad. It's going to be done in Trinidad. And then they have 4 challenges that they have to do. And these 4 challenges, I can't tell you about them. We're going to reveal more about the challenges on the day via social media. They have their 4 challenges, and then they go to a digital store to collect their treasure. And the treasure is what really shortlists them to be one of the 5 to get a grant.
Right, and in terms of the video pitch for their passion project, right? What is the assessment process? Is it going to be shared on the social media platform where they garner as many likes? Is it that it's going to be a committee that is going to be selecting which one is the better one in terms of following the guidelines and the objectives and identifying with the overarching objectives of the Digicel? How is that selection process in terms of deciding which passion project is the one to go with?
Well, I'm glad you asked, Vera, asking all these spot-on questions as well. So we do want likes and follows because that's important, but we also want engagement because it's not a popularity contest, right? You have 30 seconds to tell us why your project is the project that we should go with, or for your fans to also see that as well. And then we also have an aspect in it where the foundation will create a selection committee that will review the videos, look at the likes and follows, yes, because we want to be able to give you something for that. The engagement is what is really important, right? And then we will select the final 5 videos that are posted, and those will be the ones that will get to make their Christmas wish come true.
Awesome. I love to hear it. I love the concept behind it. And I'm really excited to see how it plays out and who, ends up in the finals and goes to the treasure hunt and who ends up being the winner. What passion project, of course, would end up being the winner and being able to be executed with that $25,000 to ensure that the project, comes to fruition. I really like the concept behind this. And I like the fact that Digicel is engaging influencers because, they have a voice, they have a platform, people follow, people listen, and people tend to want to be like them. So I think it's a really, really good platform to get viewers, followers, and even your Digicel customers to come on board with this. Kudos to you guys for this happening. And of course, you said registration, the competition has already opened. The registration is open.
Registration opened yesterday and it'll stay open until the 22nd of November. Then we are going to have the actual treasure hunt on the 2nd of December, right? And then once that happens, we will reveal who the 10 people are, because we're going to shortlist 10. And then after that, we will have them prepare their videos. We're giving them a few days to prepare their videos, but the videos have to be posted on by the 6th of December. So it's not a lot of time. So they have to understand what their passion projects are. So they submitting their videos by the 6th, and then we will get an opportunity. Voting will take place between the 6th and the 11th of December, and we will reveal who our 5 project partners are by the 14th, and we're getting to get their Christmas wishes come true right in time for Christmas.
Remind us of the registration process, Cindy, for those tuned in and those who have just like me gone immediately to check your Instagram to see whether or not, yes, viewers, I know it out there. I see some even commenting, under the post indicating that they're short in terms of followers. But just remind us again of once you meet that criteria, the registration process, where they're going to find the link, the information to be able to register and what they require to have.
Yes. So the registration form is all digital. So it's on our Instagram page. The link is in our bio. And there are more instructions, of course, when you log into that registration form to fill in the details. And what we want is for persons to really read it, go through it, make sure you are making the right choice. We are looking for 12,000 followers on media and social media influencers with at least 12,000 followers. Yes, I saw the comments as well,
Yes.
Julian, about people being short. But you can always team up as well. As we want people, if you don't have it, but you have a friend who does, come along with them for the treasure hunt, because the treasure hunt can be 2 to 3 people, could be a part of that. And registration again closes off on the 22nd of November, right? And then the treasure hunt is on the 2nd of December.
All right. Any additional information, Cindy, you'd like to share with us before we close this morning?
Well, we just want to remind people that we're making Christmas wishes come true. Every year, I think everybody around this time, whether you're religious or not, you think about ways that you can either spend time with loved ones, give back to others, or just generally be a better person, And if this opportunity of $25,000 can really just transcend you out of the holiday season, because it's something that you're doing that you're passionate about, it's not just for you, you have to share it with the rest of the community, and it takes you beyond just the Christmas season, and that's what we want. That's what we want.
Excellent, excellent. So we want to thank you so much again, Cindy Anna Current, the Operations Manager, Digicel Foundation, for joining us here on set. Well, not on set. Cindy, I got excited there for a moment. But joining us here online to tell us all about the Digicel Christmas community activities. And we really want to encourage you. Feel free to check it out. And as Cindy indicated, even if you don't have the amount of followers, you might have someone that you are following, a very close friend, a colleague. Connect with them, and certainly you can also be a part of the treasure hunt and the hype and the activities. So commendations again going out to the Digicel Foundation. Adana, it sounds quite interesting.
Yes, I feel as if I need to go and find 12,000 followers so I can participate in this, because the thing for me is the passion project.
Yes.
Because as she said in the end, of course, engaging the entire community and giving back is a time where everybody doesn't have. So having something to give to others is what really strikes for me. That's really striking for me. So I think it's a really, really commendable effort by Digicel there. There's social responsibility, of course, meeting communities and ensuring that people are, you're okay. You're okay around Christmas time, especially.
All right, viewers, we want to say thank you so much. Those of you continuing to connect with us on the Tobago Updates morning show. We want to say thank you to each and every one of you for continuing to choose the Tobago Updates morning show. And to remind you, at this point, we're heading out to a break, but we want to remind you that this is your opportunity to share the live, share the live, share the live.
So your car break down.
Oh, no, not again.
And you're worried paying a wrecker could mean a pocket breakdown too. But when you're insured with Tatil, no stress.
Yes!
A Tatil motor policy has lots of benefits that protect your pocket, like free roadside assistance. That's free 24/7 every time, as many times as you need. Tatil, where people are people. A member of the Ansa McCall Group.
Child's comprehension and creative writing skills in record time for SEA. Calling preps 3s, 4s and 5s. Sundays only. 3-hour sessions of individual attention with a qualified, trained, experienced teacher of over 35 years and an SEA examiner. Call 266-5952 or 222-2082 for further information. Ask for Ingrid. Excellent results all the time.
Tobago Glass Supplies has been a leading name for over 37 years in the glass and aluminum market in Tobago. We provide an extensive range of high-quality, innovative aluminum and glass products for commercial and residential use. Competitive prices with superior and professional services by committed employees who are guided by rigid quality standards. Tobago Glass Supplies specializes in the manufacture and installation of glass and aluminum products products that are essential to today's homeowners and the business environment. We are engaged in marketing, sales, and installation of a variety of products. These ranges from windows and doors to necessities such as mirrors for homes and vehicles, designed and manufactured in-house or imported.
You know, who would I ever believe, Jessica could take care of a child,
I know, right? I'm a kinship foster parent to my nephew Malik.
Papa, you remind me of my grandmother, you know, when she used to take care of my cousins.
If I didn't step in, I don't know where he would have ended up. Plus, I get support from Children's Authority, training, and counseling.
But Jessica, you not married?
That doesn't matter once you have a safe home and you're related to the child. You're good.
So they just gave money to do this?
Yeah, they do give me some money.
So, Auntie, you can buy a Lamborghini for me?
Oh, I'm so sorry, Malik, but that money's to take care of you. Okay, smubble up, yes.
I will not try. Mommy, you can buy.
No.
Wait, I didn't even finish my sentence.
About Lamborghini, you could get lamb stew for lunch.
Auntie Jessica could only come when you come in, because all them does do is talk people business.
Malakay, I'm only going on the bed.
But Mommy, the boy don't even live here.
Yeah, go to your bunkers.
What? Bunkers? Where's that?
I think I'm getting pretty good at this.
Put a smile on your face when you're moving from place to place. Good morning, good morning, morning, good morning, morning.
Welcome back to the morning show on Tobago Updates Television. I am Adana Kumbi, and we thank you so much for staying with us as we continue to bring you things that are happening in and around Tobago. This morning, we continue conversations, and in studio, we have Mr. Dave Elliott, and he is Pro-Royal Commonwealth Ex-Services League Tobago branch. That's who he's representing, and we're talking about Memorial Day 2023, and you might notice that there's a change in me as we came back to set. Of course, yes, I am wearing my puppy, right? And this, of course, is to represent and to commemorate Memorial Day, which is what we're going to talk about this morning. Good morning, Mr. Elliott, and welcome, welcome.
Good morning, and it's a pleasure to be here.
Yes, of course, it's a pleasure to have you in set. You're so composed, and we want to get straight into the conversation. We want to talk about Memorial Day, what is happening, what is your involvement, what we can look forward to, and what is the purpose behind Memorial Day. For those of you who don't know, of course, we're going to talk a little bit about that, why we celebrate Memorial Day, what it is all about.
Well, first to start, you said I'm the Pro-Royal. What it is, I'm the PRO of the Tobago branch of the Royal Ex-Services League, right? So what it is the league, or what we call the Veterans League, we are the association or the group that will represent all the ex-servicemen, all those soldiers who would have, all those persons who would have served in World Wars I and II, right? And around this time of the year, and I'm sure you remember, Adana, that as a child you remember going to school and everybody wearing your puppy in school and all that type of thing. So it's important that we remember those who would have served, because it's because of that service that we would have been afforded the freedoms that we have today. Some people take advantage of walking in the streets freely. In Tobago, you could drink a beer on the street normally, and the police go past, and you might even offer him one, and he might pull inside and take off your head and drink a beer.
Right.
You know what I mean? In America, you can't do that. You have to have your drink in a brown bag.
That's right.
And you can't be drinking it in public by this. As simple as that. Those are things those are freedoms that we are afforded right here in Tobago. And the Ex-Services League is the group that would tend to represent all those persons who would have served. And right here in Tobago, there have been, and there still is, persons who would have participated in World War II, to be example. And we also happen to have one person who would have served in the Korean War, right? This person is none other than
Dr. Lord Nelson, Robert Nelson.
Right, right. Wow, I mean, exciting things. I mean, humbling, and also things that we should be grateful for, because you're talking about something as simple as being able to consume a beer. Right? I mean, I'm not a beer drinker, but it's something, the things we take for granted.
Yeah. I mean, you see it every day, people passing a man, 4 fellas sit down on a bridge, people that sit down around a table by the road under a tree, and it's nobody's business. But when you go in the States, you cannot do that, right? You will be arrested.
That's right, that's right. I know that for a fact. You can't probably, sometimes you can't even carry it in your vehicle. You
Exactly.
Can't even,
you can't have an open container
that's right.
in your vehicle.
That's right, that's right.
Yeah, you could, I mean, you shouldn't be driving, you shouldn't be drinking while driving. And you're not supposed to be driving drunk, but at the same time, I don't think, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And there are lots of freedoms that we actually do, and this is what we celebrate in November. The parade is, it's a little rain, very short parade, and a wreath laying ceremony at James Park. It's going to be held on Sunday. It's always held on the closest Sunday to the 11th. The 11th hour of the 11th day of the 11th month. So if this Sunday is not on the 11th, it's the closest Sunday to the 11th. And so happened this closest Sunday, either the Sunday before or the Sunday after, and this Sunday is the 12th.
Right.
So it's been held on the 11th. On Friday, we have a full dress rehearsal up in Scarborough, where there is, the streets are going to be blocked off. The parade starts at in front of the fire station along Bacalet Street, and it comes to James Park. And you have different organizations who will be laying wreaths on behalf of those organizations who would have participated in the war. We have, of course, the Defense Force, the Army, the Coast Guard, the Air Guard. There is the, believe it or not, the Red Cross would have participated in the war. That's why we have the Red Cross children there. We have the cadets, the Boy Scouts, the Boys Brigade. So those, I think, even Pathfinders to a certain degree. So you even have, so all those persons who would have participated in the parade during that time, those are the ones that often tend to be on parade on Memorial Day.
Yeah, I mean, so the parade starts
at 10 o'clock.
10 o'clock.
Yes.
And it's happening on Sunday, but you spoke about a dress rehearsal on Friday. Does that affect, because I know you said you're going to be blocking off the roads, does that affect anything on Friday for the rehearsal of the parade?
Well, all traffic uptown Scarborough will be affected. There will be no parking in what we call Tambrin Square, because that's where all the munitions are actually taking place. At 11 o'clock on Sunday, there will be the sound of a cannon. But back in the day, they used to take off a cannon from a ship and actually use it up here. But what they do now, they have the explosions specialists from the Defense Force. They actually have those explosions taking place in the James Park, so no parking is allowed. So not James Park, in Tambrin Square, what we call as Tambrin Square. That happens up there, so no parking is there. And all of Scarborough is locked off for that period until the period is over.
That is on Sunday, but I mean, you set up, there's just rehearsal on Friday.
It happens on Friday as well.
As well, okay, so the same thing happens on Friday. So public, be aware this is happening on Friday, the rehearsals. And of course, is a opportunity or a moment to celebrate, as you said, the fallen soldiers who fought for freedoms that we now enjoy. You know, sometimes we really take things for granted and we don't look back at our history to see how it is we are able, how did we get to this place, what happened before our time, and who fought to establish the things that we now enjoy. So I really appreciate this, and I think I want to be a part of this. I want to be there for those of you who have never experienced or witnessed the parade. Now is the time for you to, you know, do your research and come on board and be a part and support this very commendable occasion, because I mean, we wouldn't be here if the people before us didn't go
and some
in bravery.
Some people don't realize, and I think people just simply need to go into James Park. There's a cenotaph there, and look and see if you see a name you might know, right? We might have some family that's there. I have a great uncle that's there. There's also presently we have one veteran who would have been. Who would have participated in the war. He's still alive. His name is Mr. Iman Nigol. He's from Lekoto. Previously, we would have, and in recent times, the idea was that they would have, all of them would have died out. but we found one person, and then we keep on finding other people. The recent somebody would have died, Miss Lucille Dennis Cook.
Mm-hmm.
She would have had I know this lady personally. I know she was a soldier. She used to come to our church, and she's just like normal. And one time we visited her, you check the older folks, and he said, Miss Cook, what is this picture you have here? Oh, that's when I was in the war. There was what?
Casually, right.
You was in the war? What war? You was in a war? Yes, look. And she has an entire dossier of photos. She has the book that she issued out, the British Army would have issued when she was enlisted. And she's calm, and like it's no big deal, right?
Wow.
And there are people like that littered around Tobago, and some people don't know. Mr. Ligol, I think somebody, when they saw the interview that we had with her, and somebody called me and said, hey, there's somebody in Lekoto as well, and this man, he was a soldier, and he didn't know that there was a memorial day in Tobago.
Wow.
Because he would normally go to the States, right? And the most recent, we would have found out that Lord Nelson was a Korean War vet. Right? He said it right here in the station. And when I called and he said, yeah, he was a soldier. When we spoke to him, he said, yeah, he fought in the Korean War. He moved to the States. And when he got there, I think, when people try to stay in the States, they join the army.
That's right, yeah.
So he joined the army, and as soon as that happened, the war happened, and they shipped him out.
Wow.
And that's what it is. So we tend to celebrate them on that day. Initially, you had asked about the meaning of the poppy. Now, if you look on the paper that you have there, you would see a poem called, on the other side, called In Flanders Fields, right? It says, in Flanders Fields, in Flanders Fields, the poppies blow. Between the crosses, row on row, and the poem goes down. What had happened there was a Lieutenant Commander, Colin Lincoln McCrae. He was a doctor, and while tending to injured soldiers and that sort of thing, day by day, I think in the area where they would actually be doing fighting, and people died and blood and all this sort of something. One following morning, the area was just littered, covered with poppies. I think, in certain places where sometimes after rainfall, you would see a certain flower just bloom and just break out. Hey, where these flowers come from? That's what there was in the ground all the time. And the poppies, they were littered over the entire battlefield. And he would have written this solemn poem. And this was used as, I think, the flagship poem for the entire Veterans and Remembrance Day. I think, but what happened is the poppies would have grew across the entire area. They decided, after some years, it was decided to use these poppies as a symbol in memory of those who would have fought and died. Initially, it was those who would have fought and died, and then he said those who would have served. And then you remember there was even a situation where animals and all would have served. Horses and dogs also served. Horses were used to carry equipment. Dogs did things like searches and that type of thing. So those were included after a period of time.
I think this is so interesting, and I'm sitting here and I'm absorbing. In all my years in primary school, every single year we used to wear poppies. And I never knew, no one ever taught us, and I think these are things we need to talk about. We need to educate. I'm raising conversation this morning about this celebration and this recognition of the people who put their lives at stake to ensure that we remain, safe and that we can enjoy the benefits, So it really is raising, and I really want there to be some segments in our schools where this is introduced, inducted into our syllabus somehow, our curriculum somehow, because we need to know, our children need to know about these things that had happened. Why have I been wearing a puppy for my entire primary school life and not know the story behind it? And it's something we really need to introduce. And we need to, I really want people, I'm taking this opportunity, and I really want people to do some research, spend some time getting to understand, getting to know, starting to show gratitude for the position that we now hold, for the place that we now stand in, because of the selflessness of people who went before us. And you were talking about some of the veterans who are still alive.
Were even in Miss Cook's her little book that she actually had, you are called a child of the crown, because during that time, Trinidad and Tobago under British rule. And these people today, I think the leagues in England and Canada, they send money for these people and their children to help take care of them. You know, you get a donation every year or something like that, right? Incidentally, there's one other person that we recently would have discovered. He's from Lambo, but he lives in Trinidad. And they say he don't want a shine up thing, he don't want the TV thing, and he don't want that.
The humility of these guys.
Yeah, exactly. And everybody's the humility. When you talk to Lord Nelson about the war, he tell you he doesn't want to really talk about it, right? When you speak to Mr. Ligol, well, he would give you all the stories, you know what I mean, that he would have gone through, and they would have done different things. We have Mr. Josie Eastman. He would have died. He was in Egypt from Castara, right? He used to be driving vehicles, I think, in Egypt. We have Mr. Ligol in Lekoto. He was a tradesman. He worked with the engineering section, building bridges and that type of thing. Miss Cook was a clerk, right? So persons would have served in different capacities. I think Lord Nelson himself, he was on the front line, but this was in Korea, in South Korea. Right. So persons here would have actually participated in one. I mean, we want to encourage persons just simply to go up to James Park and just take a look at that plaque, and it is filled with names, and we have multiples and there are a few more. And you'll be able to see persons who would have served. I mean, who you might see a family member's name, who knows. So the parade is on Sunday the parade marches off at 10 o'clock from the back of the street in front of the fire station. Come to James Park. So persons are encouraged to come to James Park around the entire periphery and observe the parade. It's a short parade. It's a standing parade. It's short but intense. And all you see the dignitaries and persons from different organizations laying the wreaths. And it's a very memorial day. And you'll have the puppies will be on sale on those days. We also, for those of you interested, you can reach out to me. We also have our Facebook page where persons are encouraged to be members of our league as well. There are application forms on the page. You get your puppies. They are $5. Adana will pay for hers in a while. And we have these beautiful handbands like I'm wearing here. These are $10. I think when I leave here, I'll be going to Bishop's High School. We might do someday. We went to Light and Life, Scarborough Sec, some of the other schools that actually we given the puppies so that, people could, they could remember and be informed about the freedoms that we have today and why they are, how they originated.
Thank you so much, Dave, Elliott. Our listening and viewing public, I'm encouraging you to invest your time to do the research, to get the knowledge, and also to stand with the team as they celebrate the work of those that went before us, that allowed us to enjoy the privileges we now enjoy in this time, in this dispensation. So that is happening this Sunday from 10 a.m. From the fire station, heading to James Park. So you could go ahead there and see what is happening. As you said, an intense parade, an intense standing parade. So let's go and see what it's all about in support of this motion. Right, ladies and gentlemen, we thank you so much for staying with us throughout this morning show on Tobago updates. Of course, we're going to head on over right now to Tobago Notes and then to GMT. So we're asking you to stay with us as we continue programming. And of course, as we go, we encourage you to continue to share the live, share the live, share the live.
The seeds of this project were planted many years ago. Today, that seed is proudly showing the branches it has produced. This museum will continue to do two things. First, to edify the public at large about the truths and the history of a faith that was and still is frowned upon. Frowns that are steeped in ignorance and conditioning by your colonial past. Fronts that definitely can be removed through education and facts. And secondly, the museum will continue to be a beacon to those of the faith, a light to be proud of your beliefs and ancestry.
Today is indeed a very historical day in Tobago, as this museum will be open in a very short while. And I think that once a person has resilience and that determination to achieve anything, anything can be achieved. And I know with the hard work and the sacrifice of Bishop Dillon and his wife and so many others, this was possible. Today I want to congratulate my brother and the members of the Baptist community in this milestone, in this achievement, the opening of this museum today. On behalf of the Muslim community and also the Tobago Faith-Based Council, which myself and Ms. Bipat are part of, we wish you all the best, all the success, and also those who will pass through this museum will really learn a lot from what is inside there.
Today's outing is the first outing in 14 months for me, public outing. Since I fell, broke my hip. Sheila and I are very happy. And when you asked me to attend, when you sent me the invitation, I spoke to her and I said, we're going to Bethel's project, and I'm happy to be here. We're happy to be here, and I want to wish you all the best. Always, you can call on me.
Having this museum is in part a celebration of religious liberty across the country. It's a celebration of our emancipation as a people. I thank the Spiritual Baptist community for deciding to tell its story. And yes, it is a work in progress, meaning that you start today, you may not have all the storyboards you need, you may not have the chaos you need, the setup might not be finalized, but keep building and building and building and curating the information.
That was a production of the Department of Information, Office of the Chief Secretary, Tobago House of Assembly.
Morning, rise up to a brand new dawning as the passion start to rise. The energy fill the skies. I say thanks for favor to wake up and hear my neighbor. 60,000 people strong and the vibes is never.
Welcome to Good Morning Tobago on Tobago Updates, your source for current affairs in Tobago, Trinidad, and the region, with the perfect conversations to complement your morning routine. I am Candace Jackson, and let's get started with the news in 90 seconds, brought to you by B-Mobile. A breakdown in policy adherence is being blamed for Signal Hill Secondary School students missing out on the finals of the Sandfest competition. Following a viral post from a frustrated parent, the Division of Education, Research and Technology investigated the matter. They defended the decisions of the School Supervision and Management Unit, which repeatedly attempted to work with the school to obtain the necessary documents for authorization and funding for the trip. Education Secretary Zorisha Hackett expressed disappointment about the situation, but underscored the need for the students to be protected within a structure that ensures accountability and transparency. Meanwhile, senior government officials from Barbados and Trinidad and Tobago convened virtually to address concerns about the Eastern Caribbean flying fish stock. The Caribbean Regional Fisheries Mechanism also participated. The meeting included delegates from both countries focusing on sustainable fisheries management. They discussed issues including collaborative research and sub-regional fish stock assessments, particularly for flying fish. Both nations expressed their intent to negotiate a new fishing agreement in the future. The discussions were productive and the government reaffirmed their commitment to open communication and consultation with stakeholders to ensure sustainable use of this shared resource. And finally, Finance Minister Com Imbut dismissed concerns over the temporary suspension of the TT dollar exchange by the Bank of Jamaica, the BOJ. The BOJ cited a review of the repatriation arrangements as the reason for the suspension. Imbut noted that the traded amount of TT dollars in Jamaica was minimal, around $4,000 a month. He criticized the media reports for exaggerating the situation, causing unnecessary anxiety. Meanwhile, several business organizations called for clarity on the matter in separate statements. And that was the news in 90 seconds, sponsored by B-Mobile. All right, viewers, now getting straight into our conversation this morning. I am being joined by two people to sort of put some light on a situation that has been troubling, I know, a lot of the minds here in Trinidad and Tobago as we go forward into next year and we see what next year brings. And of course, that is about what's going to happen with our electricity rates. So on set with us, I'm being joined by the chairman of the Regulated Industries Commission, and that is Ms. Dawn Kalinda. So a special good morning and welcome to you.
Good morning, and good morning to your viewers. We're happy to be here to provide some clarity.
As well as Mr. Ray Sandy. Well, you know him as the former Chief Administrator of the Tobago House of Assembly, but he's here as Deputy Chairman of the Regulated Industries Commission. Good morning and welcome to you, Mr. Sandy.
Thank you very much.
All right, so let's get started. Now, there was a presentation made about a month ago, and it discussed, you know, the proposed changes from the RIC. As you know, the RIC had been consulting with the public over the past year or two, and, you know, getting your views. We know how some of those consultations went, the views that were expressed, and they came back to the public and said, here, this is what we come up with, taking on board some of the public's suggestions, and this is what we think is best for the time going forward. Now, first of all, I want to start with, when was the last time we had an increase in our electricity rates?
Actually, the last increase was in 2011. So before an increase happens, we need a period of consultation and so on, as you know. We've only done one of those prior to this one. That one had been done in 2006, and it covered a 5-year period that ended in 2011. And then we had a very long hiatus, and this is the second one. And these rates will cover the period, we think, 2023 to 2028.
Now, one of the first things that we've noticed about these changes is that the billing cycle is going to be moving from 2 months to 1 month. Mm-hmm. And can we get a little bit more perspective as to why this change, why the RIC felt that this change was necessary?
Well, maybe I'll ask the Deputy Chair to address.
We thought the change was necessary so that people can budget more adequately. I mean, most of our bills are paid monthly, and your electricity bill is paid bi-monthly. But the changes we have made means that you get your bills every month, and you can budget for it. There's a slight increase in terms of the residential customers. There's an increase in the bills, and we expect persons to get accustomed to the monthly billing, like you get your telephone bills and other bills as usual.
And what was the reaction that you got from the public when you presented this change in terms of the billing cycle?
So the public, I think we had mixed reactions, I would say. We are aware, for example, that sometimes when persons have difficulty with their bills, they will actually go to TNTech, work out an arrangement, and that is a monthly arrangement. So with respect to somebody's ability to budget, and also with respect to seeing where your consumption levels are and being able to adjust downward you will get that feedback more quickly. So there were persons who welcomed it. On the other hand, there were persons who felt, right now, in the month when I don't have a bill, I have a little reprieve, and I would want to keep my bi-monthly billing. But overall, for TNTech and for the customers, we are seeing the advantages. It is a change, and in time, I think people will come to see the benefit of the change.
All right, and then next up, we had the presentation where we're moving from a 3-tier system in terms of the costing for the electricity rates to now a 4-tier system. And I know at the press conference, it was a little bit technical, the explanation was a little bit technical. So we're hoping that you can perhaps break that down a little bit for our customers, for our viewers, so they can better understand what this means for them.
All right. You want to take that? You can. Yes.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So we added an additional tier to the residential customers. It's now tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, and tier 4. The tier 1 goes from 1 kilowatt hour to 200 kilowatts. Prior to that, there were only 3 tiers. Tier 1, tier 2, and tier 3 goes from 1 to 1,000. We have increased the kilowatt rating, if you want to call it that, from 1 to 1,400, and we have 4 tiers. And what we have done also is we have escalated the increase based on as you go from tier 1 to tier 2 to tier 3 and so on. The increase is gradual. What that does is it facilitates persons to determine what their monthly consumption should be, and it will also determine the rate that you pay. So we are encouraging persons to be a lot more conservative in the use of electricity. You know, traditionally we have lights on all day and night. We wash half a load of clothes. We do all kinds of things. And because of the rate of electricity was very, very cheap. And I want to add that the increasing rates will facilitate persons to be a little more conscious about how you use electricity. And even with the increases, our rates are still the absolute lowest in the Caribbean. Well, not absolute. I think Suriname alone has a lower rate than us. But compared to Barbados, Jamaica, and so on, our rates are perhaps 1/3 of what persons in Barbados and Jamaica and so on pay for electricity, even with the increases. So I want to put that on the table also.
All right, but I want to get a little bit deeper into it as to what it means. So we're moving to this, it's slightly complicated in the sense that we're moving from 2-month billing cycle to 1-month billing cycle. In terms of dollars and cents, what would that mean for the increase? Like what average increase can we expect to see if these are the rates that are adopted by TNTech? And of course, we'll get into that conversation a little bit later, but in terms of what was presented, can we have just a little bit of breakdown in terms of the dollars and cents?
Okay, sure. I want to just make a particular point. I know persons have been having problems in computing the bills. We have an RIC calculator, which you can find on our website, ric.org.tt/calculator. You can find a calculator there. When you get to there, look on your old bill and take up the kilowatt hours that you've used. That's the only number you have to plug in, and your new bill will be computed. So you can see what your new bill is, you can see what your percentage increase will be. So that sort of made it easier. Of course, if somebody wanted to do it manually, they can take that same kilowatt hour, divide it on 2. This is going to be an average. And then they apply the rates for 200 kilowatt hours. Then you go to the second tier, which ends, I believe, somewhere around 700. And then the third tier that ends at 1,400. So you can do it manually. You can also do it via that calculator, and you should get the same result.
All right.
Yes.
Mr. Sandy, I don't know if you wanted to add a little bit more there.
No, I think the chair would have dealt with it. The largest increase is for those heavy commercial customers, and the largest increase is 61%. And we recognize that the cost of electricity to those are persons with businesses that are huge businesses that use a lot of electricity and so on. And the cost of electricity for them is a relatively small figure in the grand scheme of things. So even though the increase is 61% for them, it doesn't affect significantly the final output of their goods and services.
And let me just make one addition. Now, we are taking sample bills. We took an average consumption in terms of what the information we had available to us. It could quite be possible that people fall outside those bands and could see higher numbers based on their personal consumption. But obviously, we couldn't do every single person's own. And so that's why we've provided the residential custom calculator on the site, and we will be providing a commercial calculator and an industrial calculator as well, just so that people can see those numbers easily.
Now, another thing that I think was mentioned at the press conference, but perhaps did not get enough of airtime, but it was that these tier systems are not hard and fast in the sense that, let's say that you are at level 2 in the tier, and 1 month you use up less electricity, so you don't have to keep paying those tier 2 rates. So I just want to add some clarity to that.
Okay, so I think you're talking about people consumption levels, and that's part of the benefit of giving a monthly bill, that you can quickly adjust your consumption. So basically, whatever you consume, if you consume, for example, 800 kilowatt hours, you're going to have a bill in for the first 200, that's 28 cents. As you go up and you get between 200 and 700 kilowatt hours, that's 40 cents. If you've done 800 now, you have another 100 kilowatt hours, which would go into 54 cents. So as you want to make that adjustment to go down back to below 700 or up to 700, you would make those decisions internally to you in your own home, and you should see your bill coming back down. So then your highest consumption level will revert to 40 cents per kilowatt hour, and you would have eliminated getting into the 54 cents band.
So basically, just to sort of alleviate some fears is that, so if you were at a higher consumption 1 month and you're at a lower consumption the other month, it doesn't matter. It's just based on that month's consumption.
Absolutely.
All right. Now, moving on to these proposals in the sense that they are just proposals. And TNTech still has to decide on their part as to whether or not these that were proposed are exactly the 15 to 64%. These are exactly what that they would adopt into their system.
Yes.
Well, okay, the percentages that we propose are basically the top end of it. TNTech can decide to charge less, but they cannot decide to charge any more. That's the legal requirement, that is. So it's with TNTech now, and they can decide to charge less, or they can decide to charge what we recommended. And I think what we recommended are fairly reasonable in the scheme of things. So that's the option that TNTech has. So we await TNTech's decision on it, and every year we have a relationship with TNTech as we do with WASA and so on, to treat with their income and so on. And every year we will look at the income that they have derived, and we can make a determination as to whether or not it should be reduced further and that kind of thing.
And then what about in terms of...
There's no time frame. So they can actually, as he said, take as long as they like. And we hope they do come back quite quickly, because in the final determination, there are the rates, but there are some other requirements on TNTech with respect to the service they should provide. Those requirements are actually in force now. In order for TNTech to meet those requirements, they need the revenue. So if they don't respond by taking up the revenue, it could affect the other directives that they have to implement. The other directives they have to implement, there are penalties associated with if they don't meet those directives. So it's all related. We've provided what we think is a fair revenue for you to be able to meet these directives. The directives are in force, so it's up to TNTech to respond by taking up their rates in order to meet their directives and avoid further penalties that could be levied on them if they don't meet the service standards and so on that the RIC has set for them.
And we have other issues on the horizon now. We have electrical vehicles, for example, EVs, and we have put a process in place where if you have one electrical vehicle, you can take the electrical current, my words, out of your residential home and so on. But if you have more than one, you have to have a special meter for it and that kind of thing. So those are things that will benefit TNTech.
And I want to get more into some of those things along with the changes that are coming for the industrial rates as well as the commercial rates and so on. But we got to take a quick break. So viewers, don't go anywhere. We'll be back with the RIC Commission.
Welcome to Standard, and today we're launching High. It's our newest brand that Standard is launching, and it's where luxury meets affordability. We're very proud of this brand. It's taken some time to get the right collection in place, and we're also going to continue to improve on our collection as time goes by and we listen to our customers more. We've changed our suppliers for this collection to European suppliers, so you're going to get that European finish. We've been very pleased by some of the results that we've been seeing in terms and response to it in the market, and we're so glad to bring it to Tobago and show Tobago what Standard could, grow with them as well.
It's not just about looking good or having materials that are easily cleaned or sustainable materials, because the important thing about this particular collection is that it is quality. It is meant to last, and it lives up to the Standard name about never beating on quality and price. This furniture particularly, especially our outdoor line, which ranges from fiberglass, plastic types of outdoor stools, outdoor chairs, even the outdoor furniture, it is built to last.
That's the importance with High, right? It's not only looking good, it's going to feature things that make your life easier, and it's not too damaging on the pocket. That's important for us.
This furniture fits the lifestyle of Tobago, of the Tobago customer, of the Tobago guest. It is the perfect type of furniture for you.
Want to improve your child's comprehension and creative writing skills in record time for SEA? Calling Preps 3s, 4s and 5s, Sundays only, 3-hour sessions of individual attention with a qualified, trained, experienced teacher of over 35 years and an SEA examiner. Call 266-5952 or 222-2082 for further information. Ask for Ingrid. Excellent results all the time.
The Division of Settlements, Public Utilities and Rural Development has relocated its Crown Point office to Glen Road in Scarborough to better serve you, our clients. Our main office is located at the corner of Glen Road and Glen Road Branch number 1, the building formerly occupied by Coastal. Our grant and electrical inspectorate services can be accessed at number 2 Montessori Drive in Glen Road, building 1 and 2.
Welcome back to Good Morning Tobago on Tobago Updates. Viewers, we are continuing our conversations this morning with the Regulated Industries Commission, and we are here with Ms. Dawn Callender, who is the chairman of the RIC, as well as a deputy chair, Mr. Ray Sandy. All right, so now before we went into the break, we were speaking a bit about the changes to the residential rates for TNTech that were proposed by the RIC following their consultations throughout the nation. But there are also changes that are coming for commercial. And the reason why I bring this up, because we have quite a lot of businesses here in Tobago. Now, our businesses are micro, small, and medium-sized businesses. We don't have the large businesses. So which means any changes in these electricity rates has a major impact on overheads. So what are the changes that we're talking about for commercials?
Right. So I would say that we don't expect that the first year rates would have a major impact on their overheads. And this is because for many businesses, electricity forms maybe a relatively small percentage of their costs. Based on the data that we have looked at, that percentage may be 2%. We know that in some businesses it could be 0.8 and other percentages. So even though the rates are going to be higher in terms of the overall cost of business, it is not going to be, well, I don't want to say that's significant, but it's not going to be as much as the electricity increase. And if I could just translate that into numbers, let me say something like this. Even though your electricity rate may go up by 10%, it does not mean that your product costs should go up by 10%. Because when you apply the electricity rate, you look at your new total cost. That is the total cost that you're attempting to recover. So your number would go up, but it's not going up by 10%. And I especially want members of the public to know that, so that after the rates are applied, if, for example, wherever you get your service, the justification for the price increases is being ascribed to the electricity rates, and that justification seems high and substantial, you are within your rights, I would say, to ask a question or to just get to the owner of that business and let them explain further. Of course, when we met with persons who are involved in business, they also are very concerned about their competitiveness. Yes. So they also have their own incentive and their own motive to ensure that while they seek to recover some or part of their costs, they do not change their prices in a way that would not reflect the true increase in electricity rates.
Now, I also want to address a concern that we experience here in Tobago when, during the pandemic, we had a lot of our hotel plants, guest house plants, struggling to deal with their rates because, of course, I think they're categorized under what, the industry part of categorized?
Quite likely, depending on their size. So it's not so much, you're not categorized because of your industry, you're categorized because of your usage. Okay. So some persons who may be operating a small guest house, for example, they may find themselves in the commercial rate. If you have a larger business as a substantial hotel, you're likely to be in the industrial rates.
Now, we had a concern because over the pandemic, we did not have any guests coming into Tobago for quite a long time. And our hotels saw, and they had to keep the power on because, of course, if you don't keep the power on, your plant gets affected in different kinds of ways. And they did struggle in terms of being able to pay that without any guests or any businesses and so on coming in. Was there any consideration to anomalies like that might happen to, I don't know, sort of mitigate the impact that it would have on our hotel sector, especially here in Tobago, where this is our economy?
Right. Well, in terms of the new determination, we did not take that into account because we really looked at what would be normal business operations. I mean, I think we will all admit that the pandemic was an unusual occurrence for us. It was something that we all struggled with. During the pandemic, I think everybody was affected. So we should really also understand that TNTech was also affected during that period in terms of persons still expecting electricity. More persons were home. They were using their systems from home. Without the money provided to TNTech, I mean, they couldn't very well just cut the service or reduce the quality of service. I think it's one of those things that it was a very difficult balance for us to strike all around as a country. We know that some level of support had been provided centrally by the government. I know, for example, with respect to the hotels in Tobago, that the THA also jumped in and provided some support. So it's one of those things where I would say we happily compromised and we all did our part. But an event like that is very difficult for us to forecast. So we did not make any particular judgment around there. What I would say, though, to the public is that as the RIC, we advocate for customers, and where something is happening where a customer believes that they should have a different form of relief or more relief, they can certainly come to the RIC and put their case for us, and we will advocate on their behalf. Interestingly enough, during the pandemic, I don't think anybody came with that question. We've had during, meeting with TNTech, they were saying that they were struggling with it. But because we don't really provide them with those kinds of business guidance, it wasn't something we intervened on. So I would just remind people that should we have a similar event and they've exhausted their overtures to TNTech, we'll be happy to take a look at it and try to strike a balance. And it would be striking a balance between thinking about the impact on TNTech and thinking about the impact on a particular customer sector or business.
Certainly. So what kind of a rates now, what kind of increases can we expect in the commercial and industrial? I'm not sure which one you want to take first.
Okay. In the commercials and the industrials, I can give a range. And this is one area where persons have asked us about the consultations. There's sometimes business concerns that, what's the consultation? I'm a guy, you brought us here and we're making inputs, and will you take any of the inputs? And I assured the public then and now that we really took the consultations very seriously, and we took their concerns on board. For the residential customers, we felt we really had gone as far as we could go, so those rates didn't change. But for the commercial customers, because we know that they're small businesses and that they impact the sector, they create a lot of employment. They contribute about 30% to GDP. So we responded to their concerns. In the draft determination, their rates had been set for smaller commercial customers, between 51 to 63%. And in the final determination, we've reduced that by an average about 17%. So those rates are now between 37 and 51% for that particular class. We also look at the industrial customers, because like your hotels, some of them will fall there. They were between 72 and 87%. We've reduced those to 58 to 70%. So we took on the comments on board. One of the questions they asked, or one of the requests they made of us, is that the rates should be more gradual, the rate increase. Okay. So that's the reason why we took on board, we made it more gradual in the first year, and they actually said to us that we will make it up over the course of 5 years. So that is definitely one customer class that could expect increases over subsequent years based on statements they made and requests they made.
All right, great. Now, before we went to the break as well, we started speaking about just changes that are happening within the world, in the sense of how we deal with our vehicles and so on, as we try to reduce our reliance on fossil fuels. And we are seeing this little push or this little encouragement to go towards having energy-based cars, electric cars, and so on. But you sort of got into it a little bit, but I want you to get into it a bit more. How did the RIC handle that projection or that anticipation in the future where, we might have several vehicles in one home, as we do right now, that are electric powered and need to be charged regularly?
Well, as I indicated a bit earlier, we have put in place an arrangement during this 5-year period to treat with electric vehicles at persons' residential homes. Currently, we have no such, basically if you have an electric vehicle and you can get the type of hardware that needs to be powered up with and so on, you can go ahead and basically pay residential rates. But we are saying that that's a different kind of rate, and we have put something in place now over the next 5 years to treat with electric vehicles. If you only have one vehicle, you can take it off your system, but if you have more than two, you have to have a special meter for that because it's a different kind of consumption of electricity.
So in other words, as we try to move away from fossil fuels, we would end up paying a little bit more in electricity rates.
Well, yes, you might end up paying a bit more, but you also you can also purchase but I should say you can get electricity generated based on
solar and wind.
Solar and that kind of thing.
Okay.
So it's not completely on TNTEC using natural gas and all of that. So all of these things are things that we are considering.
I wonder if I can jump in here, though, and just say something that applies to all of the rates we've set. During the consultations, I know persons, they responded to the fact that it's going to increase. But maybe one thing that was lost is the fact that our rates are actually quite subsidized across the board. And that's because of the price of gas that TNTEC contracts with NGC. Those prices are below market prices. They are below the true prices. So in addition to the fact that we've said that, let's say for residential customers, those rates are 75% of what they could have been, and that is even using the subsidized price of gas. If the true price of gas is put in there, there is a further 10 to 25%, depending on what the market price of gas is, that every customer is enjoying. So that is something that people must take into account when they think about solar. And we're not discouraging people. I think the world is moving towards solar. We also need to go towards solar. But solar is going to have a different price point that is likely to be higher. So,
yeah, and actually, I do want to get into that because for a long time, I think we've TNTEC has sort of discouraged people from going into alternative forms of energy and so on. And so, what was the recommendation? What was the conversations like in terms of encouraging people to have their own energy generating mechanisms within their homes?
So that is something that is still being studied. There's no final recommendation on it. I think it's falling under what is called a feed-in tariff mechanism. What that would entail is that persons can, with a sort of license, generate their power for their homes, and if there is surplus power, they can sell it to TNTEC. That has a very wide spectrum depending on the installation, the responsibilities you have. I think what people should know also that they would be entering a contract now with TNTEC, and they would have certain performance standards for the electricity they're putting online and so on. It may be a little bit more complicated and complex than we have interfaced with it so far. But when we get to that stage, I think TNTEC must really inform the public, educate them in terms of the requirements. So that is on the cards, that is being reviewed and should come into effect, I would say, within the next year or so. Can't speak definitely for TNTEC, but from where it is at this point in time. Solar power is higher than the cost of producing fossil power in Trinidad and Tobago because we are enjoying gas subsidies which would not translate into the solar power.
And I can reinforce that because I remember and this is about 15 years ago, I did a study while I was in DHA about use of solar energy and so on. And my counterpart was a professor from University of California in Berkeley. And when I sent the information to him about the cost of electricity in Trinidad and Tobago, he said, forget it, doesn't make sense, don't bother with it. The price of electricity was so low here that he said it does not make sense. It cannot be economical at that time. So I'm just supporting what the chairman just said.
Yes. Now prices have come down, and we do want to enter that solar conversation because remember there's a greater goal with that in terms of climate change and the environment. But I like people to be informed, and this is part of why we come out so that people are making informed decisions. So sometimes when people are thinking of solar, they're thinking of solar because they believe it's going to be cheaper. But even though it may not be cheaper, we would still encourage people to take on solar because we have climate change goals and other goals that we need to meet. And of course, based on a feed-in tariff mechanism, they might find themselves being able to sell to TNTEC. That also goes to the level of investment you've put out. If you've simply if you have a small installation only to serve your home, you may not be able to sell back to TNTEC. if you want to do that, you are going to have to invest in a larger installation.
Yes.
It is going to be more costly, and that is when you'll have surplus power. So those are things that people should, drill into a little bit more so that when they think about it and when they make that decision, they are informed about what they're getting into.
And if I can mention here, for example, if you go to Barbados, you see a lot of water heaters being solar driven.
Yep.
Simply because of the cost of electricity.
And I think they also have a system where, like, part of their, so they have the water heaters on their roofs, and then they also have part of their energy is supplied by those solar panels, and some of it on the grid.
Because of the cost of electricity.
Yes.
So in Trinidad and Tobago, that does make quote-unquote sense, given the cost of electricity here. So maybe we need to escalate the cost of electricity here to encourage more persons to go into solar, but that's not an RSC matter.
Oh, I'm not too sure how the public would consider that one.
But what I can also say is that because that question came to us so frequently, I actually did a little bit of research myself. I went to people who are involved in gas and so on, people in Trinidad and Tobago and outside Trinidad and Tobago. And I asked them, well, why is this gas so cheap? And they said, well, first of all, the subsidy, but also there's no transportation cost. The gas is here and it comes to us directly. But when you think of persons like in Barbados, there is the transportation cost, there are other logistics costs and so on. And that would impact on their final cost.
Now, there was another thing that was introduced in your proposals that is quite new to the structure that we have right now, and that is in terms of cryptocurrency mining. There's going to be a charge. There's a recommendation for a specific charge for that, a category for that?
Yes, so there's nobody in that category at this time, but persons
But at least that you know of.
No, there's no one there. We actually did some research. I always say we don't speak for TNTech, but we speak to them and we ask them these types of questions. No one in that category at this point in time, but generally people who are involved in mining cryptocurrency, they look around for low electricity jurisdictions, and that's where they want to operate. I think I would just say the guidelines we have for TNTech is that they should ensure that these persons are covering their cost to serve and they don't overburden the system because they operate 24/7. And so they're going to be on all the time. And any price that is charged for them must ensure that TNTech recovers the cost to serve them, and also, I guess, in a sort of proactive way, ensure that they do not compromise what other customers enjoy at this time.
All right, great. Well, I think we're out of time for our interview this morning, but we were having such a wonderful conversation.
We were. And maybe it's time also for me to just thank the persons in Tobago who came out for our consultations, to let them know that we were very appreciative of the feedback. And I always end by thanking my commissioners, the commissioners with whom I worked, who provided a very steady hand, a lot of good advice and so on for me, and the persons at the RIC who did this work. This work took place over a long period. We got the information, I think, December 2021. It's almost December 2023. 2 years of good work, professionalism, and independence and integrity, I will also say. I like to remind everyone that these rates apply to all of us equally. And the persons who did this work at the RIC did not consider their personal circumstances. They did what was best for TNTech and for the quality of service we want our customers to enjoy. So,
all right. I want to thank you both. I don't know, Mr. Sandy, you want to say anything, or are you good?
Just want to support what the chair just said and to see that the staff of the RIC did a tremendous amount of work, including the board, and we are happy with the outcome of it. And we did take into consideration the comments made by members during the comment period, and we have made a few changes and so on, but we understand that where we are and our recommendations, if I might say so myself, are very good recommendations.
Fair and balanced.
Fair and balanced.
Fair and balanced. All right. I want to thank you so much, both from the RIC, for being here with us, Ms. Kalinda, Mr. Sandy, and giving us a little bit of more understanding, a little bit more perspective on what is to come. And we're definitely looking forward to see how TNTech take these recommendations on board and what they decide at the end of it.
Thank you.
All right, viewers, well, we got to go for a quick break, but we got a bit more coming up for you on the program, so don't go anywhere.
We are beaches, we are rivers, we are melanated ones. We special and there is no denying Tobago is number one. I am you and you are
MI4 Security Services Company is the most advanced security service in Tobago. Ask about our cash and transit service. It's safe, risk-free, reliable, and timely. We provide safe banking delivery for all business types and sizes with highly trained staff, 24/7 monitoring, coordinated emergency response, and a well-maintained fleet of armored vehicles. Contact us at 660-7723 or visit our website at www.mi4securitytt.com to sign up today.
Want to improve your child's comprehension and creative writing skills in record time for SEA? Calling Preps 3s, 4s and 5s, Sundays only, 3-hour sessions of individual attention with a qualified, trained, experienced teacher of over 35 years and an SEA examiner. Call 266-595.
Welcome back to Good Morning Tobago on Tobago Updates. Viewers, we are now being joined by Mr. Mosi Dinoon, who is the head of the aquatics at YMCA in Tobago. Good morning and welcome to you, Mosi. How are you doing?
Good morning. Thank you very much. I'm fine. I'm good.
Now, Mosi has been doing quite a lot in the field of swimming. In case you don't know, Mosi is one of our young, he's still pretty young. Still pretty young, but has been having quite a lot of success where swimming is concerned. And I'm going to first talk about one of those successes, which is having 16 out of 18 of our secondary school students being able to medal at the recently held secondary swim meet in Trinidad.
So we had the secondary school swim meet that you said was held in Trinidad recently. We carried 3 schools down, which is Scarborough Secondary School, Signal Hill Secondary School, and Bishop's High School. Bishop's High School won the top co-ed school overall in Trinidad and Tobago. And Bishops won the top school in Tobago as well. And the swimmers did fantastic. You know, they came back with 7 trophies overall and 16
medals, yes.
So,
and this is out of, let me tell you something. So first of all, 16 of the delegation of 18 won medals, right? So there's only 2 came back without medals. But there was also, out of how many total participants countrywide?
Well, in total, there were 500 participants overall, but it's not 16 that made medals. In total, it was about 7. Well, 7 of them made the majority of the bulk of the medals. And most of them, it was their first time. A lot of the athletes who were there came through our Learn to Swim program at the YMCA. And this was like their first time. This was like their debut swimming. So they had the nerves and everything going. But a lot of people from Trinidad, they were very surprised because most of the heats, Tobago was always come first. Every time a heat went off, you would hear like Signal Hill came first, or the next heat went off, Bishops come first, or the next heat, Scarborough second, you know. So it was very good. It's good exposure for them. It was very good for Tobago as well. Like, they did phenomenal, you know.
And what is this what does this mean for us as we look forward to our future? And I'm talking about Pan Am, I'm talking about Carifta, Olympics, all of these things.
But thus far, I mean, it's looking good. You know, the future is good thus far. Once you could keep them going, keep them at the sport. And also, I mean, like I want to touch into the Learn to Swim program that we have at the YMCA, where this is where the foundation of where it starts from.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it takes a lot of determination. These children, like you might see, they going out there and they are winning medals, but you know, you don't see the background when they get up at 5 a.m. Because even just this morning before this interview, we had like about 25 of them in the water at 5 a.m. to 6:30, getting their training done before they go to school. And then when they finish school, they're back at the pool at 4:30 to get their training done. And it's that kind of determination and mindset is what get them to where they are.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so I would say the future is in good hands.
I know, and that's just, it's very exciting when you get to hear about it. And I mean, it just makes sense. We live in Tobago, we are surrounded by water, we should have some of the best swimmers in the world.
That is correct. I agree with that. And you know, to touch on that as well, I want to let you guys know about the life-saving program because, you know, like you said, you know, being in an island surrounded by water, we have a lot of parents who have that fear. And at the YMCA, we actually have a life-saving 1, 2, and 3 course that we are running from November the 25th to the 10th. So people could come into the YMCA and sign up for that course where we teach basic life-saving skills, you know, because you don't want anybody to be in that situation where you are faced with that kind of, I don't want to say struggle, but, you know, faced with that kind of...
In other words, you're better prepared to handle
Correct.
yourself.
That is very correct, you know. So we want to, at the YMCA, we want to offer that service where it's not just about teaching students, but about teaching of how to save lives as well. So that's one of our programs, inclusive of our Learn to Swim, because, you know, the Learn to Swim program, the base of that Learn to Swim is to make sure that if a parent, you know, turns their back and your child jumps in the water, at least, you know, you won't have that instant feel like, oh my gosh, what is going to happen, you know? That's where at our Learn to Swim program, we try and teach that. So, you know, that's like the start of it. And then, you know, we get them onto the swim team and then we go to nationals, we go to Pan Am, we go to Olympics, you know. You get the children to swim outside of Trinidad and Tobago so that they can get exposure because swimming is not just in Trinidad and Tobago. You know, we go to Barbados, we go to St. Lucia, but all that is at the swim team. That's the end of the Learn to Swim program. So we're trying to get as much people involved into our Learn to Swim program as we can.
Yes. I mean, so far of our country, I think we've got some bronze in swimming with Dylan Carter and so on for the Olympics, but maybe that could be a Tobagonian pretty soon.
Could be.
This is one of the men that's behind it.
Yes.
So, I mean, we're looking forward for you to be elevated to that soon. Yes. I mean, as we see the students come in. Now, you said that for the Learn to Swim program, that's opening pretty soon. When is that opening? And how people can get involved, and at what age? How young?
Our Learn to Swim program starts at 4. So from age 4 to 17, we have the Learn to Swim program. So that cycle is actually running right now. The next cycle begins at the 8th of January. So people could come in and they can sign up for the Learn to Swim program. It's $300 a month, or you could pay $800 for the entire cycle. It's a 3-month cycle, you know. And that's where you start off. The cycle has 3 different levels. When you reach the end of the 3rd level, then you're onto the swim team, and that's where the hard drive and work begins.
Fun and hard, yes. As well as the life-saving program, you know, how can people get involved with that? Like, when does that start?
So the life-saving program starts on the 25th of November. You could come into the YMCA and sign up one of the forms. If not, you can call us at 631-0070. You could call. We have a very talented front desk staff, so she will be able to guide you accordingly. That course is $600 for the life-saving 1, 2, and 3. So all 3 of them, it's $600 in total for the life-saving course. And we also have CPR as part of the course as well for an additional $500. And it's a 3-week program. So it starts on the 25th of November and it ends around the 10th of December.
And and the YMCA pool that you don't just teach children to swim, you also teach adults. What are the programs that are in place right now or coming up pretty soon for adults to be able to, you know, to finally learn to swim? Because, you know, we have quite a lot of people in Tobago, too much, that don't know how to swim.
So with regards to the adults, and you are very correct, there are a lot of people who actually say that they do not know how to swim, and I also talk to a lot of the adults and tell them it's not something to fear. Or
It's
do
not
not
something
be
to fear,
ashamed.
it's very easy.
We have adult learn to swim programs. That's on Monday and Wednesday from 6 to 7 p.m. And that is also $300 a month. So 6 to 7 p.m. So it's outside of the work hours. We try our best to get away from all excuses like, I can't make it, you know. So we have you settled, we have you down. Mondays and Wednesdays, 6 to 7 p.m. And that program is running all now. So you just come down to the pool, sign up. You know, you have a discussion of where you're at. You know, there are people who are completely afraid to even go into the water. We have a class for that. We have people who are in between who aren't afraid of the water but just trying to learn how to swim to survive. We have that class. And we have some who may want to still have aspirations to make a national team, because there is the master's program for adults that you can still swim and make a national team. It's never like, you know, don't ever set your goal short. That can still be a goal. If you're a swimmer and you want to make a national team, that's a goal that we can help you achieve.
And I'm going to spend a lot of time just talking about, you know, getting people to learn how to swim and how important that is. And, you know, especially with the fear that people sometimes have, or even to even come forward for a class. You know, thinking that people might be mocking them and all of that, you know, about the fear of being judged because they don't know how to swim.
So a lot of people, they would have that same fear that you just spoke about. And I mean, there's two options that you can go, which is the Adult Learn to Swim program, where we had a group, you know, and the thing about it is that most people in that group have the same embarrassment level, they have the same fear. So it's like a group of, we're like a merry band together, you know, they converse, and it's nice sometimes to learn to swim with people that you can converse with and they have fun. But if, you know, there's a point where you may not want that kind of exposure, there's also private classes where you can come to the YMCA and talk to the front desk, and we can try and find a coach who has the time, and you and that coach, you can do a one-on-one session where you can learn to swim privately on your own, because, you know, we're trying to make it accessible to everybody, make it available to everybody, because I and the YMCA, we really want everybody to know how to swim. You know, like you said, we live on an island, and the beaches is, you know,
all around us. All right, so we're nearing to the end of the interview, but before we go, I just wanted to give the public just the numbers and once again how they can get connected with you so that they can learn to swim, whether you be 4 years old or 90-something years old.
That's correct. So the numbers for the YMCA is 631-0070, and you can either call the number or just come directly to the YMCA and talk to the front desk, and they will have all the information for you. How much more time do we have?
About like 1 more minute or 2 more minutes. Okay.
2 minutes?
Yes.
Okay, so I just want to quickly touch on, we have a fundraiser that is happening, which is the Parang Under the Stars, and it's on the 3rd of December, from 4 p.m. You know, and it's one of the fundraisers we are trying to do to keep the pool up and running so that we can provide this service to everyone. So we're hoping that everybody can come out and support.
And what can we expect at this Parang Under the Stars?
Well, it is Parang. We're trying to get Parang, trying to get a little bit of pan. We would have the DJ. We have complimentary hops and ham because it's Christmas season.
Certainly.
And that costs $100. So everything is just a fundraiser. We're trying our best to just keep that pool and keep the momentum of the swimmers and their energy up and running.
All right. And folks, I mean, I want to encourage you all to come out and support this, because we got to keep that dream of us Tobagonians having a swimmer in the Olympics. Hello, it's going to happen. So we need to make sure that we can contribute to it happening. So I want to thank you so much, Mosi, for being on with us and for sharing what's going on and all the achievements that are happening at the YMCA pool here in Tobago in Black Rock.
Thank you so much for having me.
All right, viewers, I want to thank you again for being here with us. But before we go, there's a special birthday today. So I want to say a happy birthday to Ms. Janelle Winchester J. Soul, one of our very own. So I hope you have a very wonderful day, and have lots of blessings and everything. So And we will see you again tomorrow. And of course, you know, J Soul, she hosts the Brunch Mid-Morning Show. If you haven't seen it yet, you need to check it out. So I'm pretty sure that there's something for everyone in that show as well. And of course, J Soul is such a wonderful host for it. So happy birthday again to her. And viewers, have a safe and wonderful day. And we'll see you again tomorrow.
As the passion start to rise, the energy fill the skies. I say thanks a favor to wake up and hear me neighbor. 60,000 people strong.